Good evening. Can you all hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. And good evening to everyone. There are 20. I can see the participants. Today, the subject is engineer as a manager. Uh, First, I wanted to ask certain questions from you all. We need to identify who am I. Before that, we need to identify what is engineering and who is an engineer. Also, who is a manager, what to manage, and how to manage. Finally, we need to understand ourselves, who are we, or rather who I am. This lecture I have been conducting for several years, and also I have gone through your answer scripts. Before the presentation or the lecture itself, I need to tell you one important factor for this study, for this subject. Please do not think about the aspect of writing the examination and learning this part of your study. This management is required for you in your life, day-to-day life, to every aspect. Therefore, learning of the things what I will be telling you all is very important to manage everything in your life. Therefore, please do not think only on the perspectives of writing examinations. Also, I will tell you now itself, whatever the question that will be posed to you for answering will not directly come just as it is. It will come as an overall thing that you extract from this presentation. So, having said that, let us move on to the presentation. Who's an engineer? So before that, we will see what is engineering. Engineering is an activity that is essential for the needs of people. It's also economic development and provisions of services to society. What does it involve? It involves the purposeful application of mathematical and natural science and a body of engineering, that is knowledge, technology, and techniques. It produces solutions of which the effects are predicted to the greatest degree possible in often uncertain contexts. That means unknown, uncertain contexts. You have calculations which the solutions are mostly towards prediction. More percentage of predictivity is there through these applications. Therefore, the engineering, we can tell, it must be carried out responsibly and ethically. And also, you need to use the available resources efficiently. It has to be economic while safeguarding the health and safety. Also, it should be environmentally sound and sustainable. So with the industrialization, the whole world, what they are facing now, earlier we did not talk about much air quality index. Now it's there every corner. And also carbon zero or negative carbon credit. You are, as engineers, you are now familiar with these terms. So every engineering aspect, what we are trying to do is should be environmentally sound and sustainable. So also you need to manage the risk throughout the entire life cycle of a system. So engineer is the one who perform all this above role. Who are the engineering practitioners? Typical engineering activity requires several roles, including those of the engineer, engineering technologist, and engineering technician, recognized as professional registration categories. Roles are defined by their distinctive competencies and their level of responsibility to the public. That is, a degree of overlap between these roles are possible. The distinctive competences, together with their educational underpinnings, are defined in the publication. You can go through the graduate attributes and professional competencies by International Engineering Alliances. That is, process of development of an engineering professional in any of the categories. What is the first stage? Is the graduate stage. That is the attainment of an accredited educational qualification. Purpose of engineering education is to build a knowledge-based attributes. Why I am emphasizing these basic concepts, it is required for you all to understand exactly what does it mean so that we can step on to real engineering management perspectives. So engineering education is required to build knowledge-based attributes. It is to continue learning and to proceed to formative development that will develop the competences required for independent practices. It's step by step. It's a formative development. What is the purpose of formative development? It is to develop the competences required for independent practice, in which the graduate works with engineering practitioners from an assistant role, then individual, and after that team responsibility until competences can be demonstrated at the level required for registration. What is the second stage? Second stage is it is from the formative development to a professional registration. So once registered, and it contains expand competences. So engineering practitioners, continuing, several international accords are there. You must be aware of these things for recognition of graduates of accredited programs of each signatory by the remaining signatories. WA is the Washington Accord. It provides for mutual recognition of programs accredited for the engineer track. Sydney Accord establishes mutual recognition of accredited qualifications for engineering technologists. Dublin Accord provides for mutual recognition of accredited qualification for engineering technicians. Each jurisdiction may define performance indicators, that is, actions on the part of the candidate that demonstrate competence. For an example, a design competence may be evidenced by the following performance. Let us see. Identify and analyze a design planning requirement and draw up a detailed requirement specification. After that, synthesize a range of potential solutions to a problem or approaches to project execution. Once you do it, then evaluate potential approaches to meet requirements and their possible impacts. So finally, fully develop design of selected options. Once you do it, then produce design documentation for implementation. Moving on to the engineering management. What is engineering management? Before that, we will see what is generic management functions. You all must be knowing, you all must have heard key management functions, that is planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So it applied together with engineering knowledge. What is important here is it applies together with engineering knowledge in context include in the management of projects, maybe constructions, operations, maintenance, business, or any other thing. So engineering fundamentals are the systematic formulation of engineering concept and principles based on mathematical and natural sciences to support applications. Then what is the engineering problem? It is a problem that exists in any domain that can be solved by the application of engineering knowledge and skill and generic competencies, maybe civil, maybe electrical, maybe engineering, whatever. Coming on to the nature and scope of management. Why management is required? Because resources are limited. Our organizations today deal with uncertainty and unexpected events, like they are vulnerable, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We call it VUCA world. It copes with diverse and far-reaching challenges, basically ever advancing technologies. Somebody's mic is on. In the modern approach, the shift towards new ways of working enabled by technology puts additional demand on today's managers. So what are the modern contexts? Managers need a new approach that relies less on command and control. In early stages, it's mainly command and control. Today, it's more towards coordination and communication. So you need to exactly know what I'm telling now. It is not command and control like early days. It is more towards coordination and communication. That is why our engineers need managerial skills to execute their duties. The field of management is undergoing a revolutionary and asks managers to do more with less, that is optimizing resources. Engage all employees, participative approach. You know, when it comes to the whether it is public or private sector, uh, the efficiency and effectiveness, you must have heard all these words. So it expect by optimizing resources and also participative approaches. Therefore, the should be able to see the change rather than stability. You can be just, stable, but you need to see the change for good. For an example, with the ever-evolving technology, what has happened to Nokia, they were very stable, but with the evolving technology, they could not come up. So their competition is more. So it can go for a natural death. We inspire vision and cultural values that allow people to create a truly collaborative and productive workplace. That is work-life balance. So engineer as a manager required to know this collaborative and productive workplace in order to achieve the work-life balance. Traditional approach, it differs significantly from a traditional mindset that emphasizes tight top-down control. I told you command and control, mostly it is top-down control. Employee separation and specialization, and in management by impersonal measurement and analysis. Today and the future, making a difference as a manager today and tomorrow requires integrating solid, tried, and true managerial skills with innovative approaches that emphasizes the human touch, enhance flexibility, and engage employees' hearts and minds. Few definitions. Tone and Freeman, as per him, the process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the work of organization members and of using all available organizational resources to reach all organization goals is the management. What is organization? It is two or more people work together in a structured way to achieve a specific goal or set of goals. So organizations bring together knowledge, people, and raw material to perform tasks no individual could do alone. As per Griffin W. Rickey, management definition is a set of activities including planning and decision making, organizing, leading, and controlling. More or less, these are similar words here and there, directed at an organization's resources, that whether it can be human, financial, or physical, and information, with the aim of achieving organizational goal in an efficient and effective manner. I told earlier. What are these two key words? Effectiveness. Mostly we talk about effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness is the ability to determine appropriate objectives, that is, doing the right thing, as per Peter Drucker. Efficiency is doing the things right, that is, the ability to minimize the use of resources in achieving organizational objectives. The ability to minimize the use of resources, that is, optimizing in achieving organizational objectives. So both are very important. While doing the right thing, okay, you need to do the things right also. So let us see these principles of combination, effectiveness and efficiency, what will happen. Okay, just go through. Effective, ineffective. There are 4 boxes: efficient and inefficient. So if it is effective and efficient, what will happen? That organization will thrive. That is what we need to do as an engineer. Effective, but not efficient. They will survive. Okay? Efficient, but ineffective. That will die slowly. Okay? What will happen then? Ineffective, inefficient. If both exist, it dies quickly. So therefore, we need to work on the first chord. It has to be effective and efficient while managing things. Bit more definitions. Mary Parker Follett has said that art of getting things done through people. This definition recognizes the role and importance of other people. Peter Drucker, the job of managers is to give directions to their organization, provide leadership, and decide how to use organizational resources to accomplish goals. So manager create the right system, condition, and environment that enable organizations to survive and thrive beyond the tenure of any specific supervisor or manager. A shared sense of purpose and pride. Okay? A passion for change. So he has to be open-minded and willing to take risk. Okay? So when it comes to the manager and the leader, this part is very much required. Risk-taking, and he should have a passion to change for good. He has to look at things very openly. He has to inculcate the values of that organizational, whether it's cultural values or organization values. Okay, that is how it is. An obsession with people and making them the best they can be. So all will not be same or equal. There will be different characters having different talents. So managers purpose or the role and task is to get maximum out of them. Moving on to the open-mindedness, it is described as a desire to see the experience new thing. So you have to look at things very openly, not narrow-minded. It consists of two factors: cosmopolitan orientation and attitude of openness to others, values and practices. So you look at in a broader way by looking at others' values and practices. And cultural flexibility, the willingness to experiment with different environment. You see these words when it comes to real your organization. It is very important to know exactly what does it mean, what these terminologies, how it applicable to my organization, my area of responsibility, or my area of work. So therefore, identification of proper environment is required. What is open-minded inquiry? It acquires information about trends, events, opportunities, and threats in the environment through scanning, direct experience, imitating, or problem-solving inquiries in a more thoughtful and systematic fashion. In the belief that all decisions start with the environment. So we talked about the definition. Now we see a very brief description about key management functions. The planning is the process of establishing goals and a suitable course of actions for achieving those goals. Next is, once you plan, it is the organizing. It reflects how the organization tries to accomplish the plan. Involves arranging and allocating work, authority, and resources among organization's members so that they can achieve an organization's goals. So, creating a shared culture and values, communicating goals to employees throughout the organization, and influencing employees with desire to perform the task-related activities of group members or an entire organization at a higher level. The process of ensuring that actual activities conforms to planned activities, that is controlling. Management skills are to perform these functions. Managers require a range of skills. What are they? The conceptual skills, the cognitive ability to see organizations as the whole and the relationship among its parts. Conceptual skills involve the manager's thinking, information, processing, coordinating, integrating, and planning abilities. What are the human skills? Human skills, the ability to work with, understand, and motivate other people as individuals or groups. As workforce diversity, uncertainty, and societal turbulences increases, human skill become even more important. I will give a minute to read what is there in the slide. I hope you have read it. Commitment and implicit or explicit pledge of a relational community continuity between exchange partners. Commitment implies a willingness to make short-term sacrifices to realize long-term benefits. Okay. It generally does not change often. A key distinct characteristic of commitment is that parties spontaneously and purposefully engage resources to maintain the relationship. Commitment provides a foundation for the development of social norms of governance, which are considered important mechanism for regulating long-term relational exchanges and reducing opportunism. So, what are the relative skills for effective performance at different level? Okay. Top level management, middle level management, and lower level management. The top level management requires the conceptual skills. Okay. Then the middle level management requires the human relation skill. Lower level management requires technical skills. These technical skills are the ability to use the procedures, techniques, and knowledge of a specialized field. So moving on to the managerial roles. So interpersonal role as a figurehead is a symbolic head obliged to perform a number of routine duties of a legal or social nature. Okay. Responsible for motivating and activation of subordinates, responsible for staffing, training, and associated duties. Liaison, another role, maintains self-development, network of outside contacts and informers who provides favors and information. So, informational role is the monitor that who seeks and receives wide variety of special information, much of it current, validity, and credibility, to develop thorough understanding of organizations and environments. Emerge as nerve center of internal and external information about the organization. Basically, gathering all the data which are very credible, valid, which could be utilized for analytical purpose of the growth of the organization. Or if it is a project, growth of the project. Who is the disseminator? So disseminator is the one who transmits information received from outside or from other subordinates to members of the organization. Some information is factual, some involves interpretation and integration of diverse value positions of organizational influencers. Some are spokesperson. They transmit information to outside an organization, plan, policies, actions, results, etc. So he serves as the expert on that. Moving on to the decisional roles of a manager. So entrepreneur. So searches organizations and its environment for opportunities. All the entrepreneurs search for opportunities and they go for initiatives, improvements to bring about change for good. They supervise design of certain projects as well. Another role, decisional role, is the disturbance handler. So who handle all the grievances. So he's responsible for corrective actions when organization faces important unexpected disturbances. Like you all must have experienced during the COVID, what has happened. Maybe during tsunami, what has happened. So this is the disturbance handler's role as a decisional role. Then as a resource allocator, he is responsible for the allocation of organizational resources of all kinds in effect. It making the approval of all significant organizational decisions. Who is the negotiator? What is the negotiation skills? So is it a decisional role? Yes. He is responsible for representing the organization for all major negotiations. Negotiations, by the way, it's a different subject. It has a different procedure. So complete learning is required for negotiation. It's a different skill. Everybody cannot be a good negotiator. Moving on to the leadership. So leadership plays a vital role in organization in providing direction and facilitating the process that enable organization to achieve their goals and objectives. Very clear? Moving on to the definition of the leadership. It is the process of directing and influencing the task-related activities of group of members. It is the process of moving groups of individuals in a desired direction. So leadership has to define the direction and move the group of people towards that direction. It's the through large non-coercive means. Leaders not only directly influence the behavior of members, but also their actions also influence the perception of members. Basically, they have to be role models, which led to norms and expectations of appropriate conduct that become ingrained in the organization's climate. We call it culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is a very famous quote. So whatever you do continuously in your organization, so it becomes your culture. So inculcating good culture will take a bit of long time, provided that you practice those good ethics, good habits every day, like eating breakfast. So leaders' action both directly and indirectly establish the ethical tone of an organization, as I said. So organization ethical tone is set by the leader's actions. Therefore, as a manager, you should be a good leader to manage your engineering aspect. Leaders can impact on organizational outcome through either direct means or indirect means. Direct is such as formulating corporate level strategy. Indirect means such as effectively managing the symbols that help build commitment of employees to organizations. Moving on to the sources of power. According to the John French and Bertram Raven, there are few words you will learn now. You already know reward power. What is the reward power? The person's ability to reward another person for carrying out orders or meeting performance requirements. So why do you require to know about this power? Because you are going to execute. You are the leader. You are the manager. So without knowing what you have, how can you execute? You must know, clearly distinguish between these different powers. So what is coercive power? It can influence us ability to punish the influence for not meeting requirement. Most of the time, leaders or the managers at early stage, they utilize coercive power. I'm not telling not to utilize. You need to utilize, but when, where, how, up to what level? Because I told you earlier, you have to have the work-life balance. And how to have it? By winning the hearts and minds of the people of the organization. So you have given as managers enough power, whether it is reward power or coercive power. I will talk about some more powers in the next slide, but you need to utilize them carefully when, where, and up to what level. So legitimate power, it exists when subordinate acknowledge that the influencer is entitled to exert influence within certain bounds. It's also implied that the influencer has an obligation to accept this power. So these are written form, even at your when you are entering to a contract or enter into a company or enter into a project. So you sign certain agreements, certain things, contracts. So it involves these legitimate things are involved. If you do not that, that can be happen. So that is accepted, but it is manager and leader to use as and when required. Expert power. It is based on the perception or belief that the influencer has some relevant expertise or special knowledge that the influencee does not. Because as a leader, you need to gain a lot of experience and knowledge. Then your subordinates will start believing you. So that is a kind of power that you can expert and put on to your subordinates. Referent power is based on the influence's desire to identify with or imitate the influencer. That is leader's ability to inspire and influence others. You do not do anything, but you do the way that you do, others will refer you. So like when it comes to the leadership, there are so many leadership types, transformational leader, charismatic leader, likewise. So referent power is such power that you build yourself. Okay. Moving on to the leader's role. It varies this in terms of the level of the organization. Katz and Kahn and Mintzberg has noted the qualitatively different nature of managerial and leader roles across the levels. In the same vein, Day and Lord claim that leadership at lower level is qualitatively different from upper level leadership. According to Katz and Kahn, leaders at the top level create organizational structure, formulate policy, and develop corporate strategy. That is the top management, which I told you earlier. Top management required, if you remember that diagram, cognitive ability to do this. Okay. Middle level leader interpret and elaborate structure, policy, and strategy. Lower level use technical knowledge, rewards, and sanctions to administer existing structure. Hope you understand. In the same context, Webster contend that the corporate level leaders define what business the company in determining the mission, vision, and shape the structure of the firm. At the business unit level, leaders determine the orientation the firm adopts to compete, including the particular core competencies developed at the functional level to achieve a competitive advantage. Functional leaders facilitate the creation of specific capabilities that contribute to core competence. Moving on to the leadership approach, okay? We require to theoretically know this leadership approach, and also you yourself ask the question which I have popped up at the beginning. Like I told, what is engineering? What is engineering management? Who are the engineers? Who am I? So there are three approaches: trait approach, behavioral approach, and contingency approach. Trait approach evolves from great man theory. Brighter, more extroverted, self-competent, assertive, sociability, and self-confidence, and also dominance. Traits approach concerned with identifying the personality traits of the leader. That is, leader's personality traits, his qualities basically. In searching for measurable leadership traits, researchers have taken two approaches. Compare the traits of those who have emerged as leaders with the traits of those who have not. Basically, there are so many leaders in the world. Eastern part, Western part, different type, Asian part, you know. and you take the previous leader and compare with him. Other one is compare the trait of effective leaders with those of ineffective leaders. Okay. Why he is success, why he is not success. Okay. Then from trait approach to moving on to the behavioral approach. It allowed to look at the leader's behavior, how it might contribute to leadership success or failure. Leadership functions are task-related or problem-solving, group maintenance, and social function. Styles are task-oriented and employee-oriented styles. That is basically based on the behavior. Other trait is the refer to the personal qualities that define effective leaders. Effective communication, we will be doing it. Self-motivated, yourself. People-oriented, that open-minded, which I told you. Emotionally stable. So you should not take emotionally decisions. So you need to be emotionally established. You should be accountable and responsible. Bad leader, too bossy. So he's just showing his power. Fearful of change. He doesn't like to change because of the fear. So because of the failure, he is unable to communicate effectively to his whatever the level. He is lacking empathy. He does not have empathy towards the employees, and inconsistent. So very always, and indecisive. He does not take decisions. So that is, we can call bad leader. Another important aspect, motivation. These are very common word. We know all motivation, isn't it? So it need to identify exactly the definition and whether we are doing that practically. That is the important thing. It is a set of forces that cause people to behave in certain ways. The human psychological characteristic that contributes to a person's degree of commitment. Okay. The driving force within individuals that implies them to action. This driving force is produced by a state of tension which exists as the result of an unfulfilled needs. What are the positive and negative motivation? Motivation can be positive or negative in direction. Okay, you know, certain youngsters how could be motivated to do the wrong things. We may feel a driving force towards some object or conditions, or driving force away from some objects or conditions. Some leaders are there, they motivate these people to get suicide because of some cause. So it can be negatively motivated also. Some extremists are there, they are motivated to do negative things. Likewise, this motivation could be either way. Think about how a person can get influenced by associating another. So let us see some of the contemporary views of motivation. Content theories. It is what motivates people. So one is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you must be knowing. Other one is ERG theory. Other one is two-factor theory of motivation. What is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? That is physiological need. That is the hunger, thirst, shelter, sex, etc. Secondly is safety need. That is security and protection. Then the social need, affection, belongingness, acceptance, and friendship. Then esteem needs, that is self-respect, autonomy, recognition. Self-actualization, what one is capable of becoming. Why you need to need to know all these things is, as leaders, as managers, you should understand these things from the perspective of your organization. Then only you can managed properly. So, as I said, from the physiological needs to safety, security, social, esteem, ego, then finally, this self-actualization. So Frederick Herzberg brought the two-factor theory, that is, factors related to job dissatisfaction, security, company policy and administration, supervision, relationship with supervisors, work conditions not favorable, salary not adequate, relationship with peers not very healthy. So these create job dissatisfaction. You need to identify all these things in order to manage the people working with you. What are the factors that lead to job satisfaction? Achievements, work itself, responsibility, recognition, advancement, growth. So now you know these things. Earlier we talked about powers, different powers, reward power, like, how to bridge these things is the manager's part of duty. That is why you need to know all these things, practically how to apply those things. Moving on to the two-factor theory, that is hygiene factor and motivational factors. Dissatisfaction towards satisfaction. So as a manager or leader, when you have given a certain, call it a different kind of environment which is not healthy. So what is your task? Your task is to move all the elements or the maximum number of elements of your organization from dissatisfaction to satisfaction. Basically, you need to identify all the hygiene factors which are creating dissatisfaction. Once you identify it through your all other skills, and the skill what we will be discussing in next few slides, while applying that, you can draw towards the satisfaction. It becomes motivational factors. Moving on to the ERG theory, that is existence, relatedness, and the growth. The theory of job motivation that says people strive to meet a hierarchy of existence, relatedness, and growth needs. If efforts to reach one level of needs are frustrated, individuals will regress to a lower level. Existence, connected with survival, that is physiological needs. Relatedness, maintaining interpersonal and social relations with how good you are with your employees. Growth, needs for personal creativity or positive influence. So putting all these together, I have summarized for your consumption. Herzberg two-factor theory, that is motivators and hygiene factors. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. The top, the lowest is the physiological need. Aldeffer's ERG theory is about the growth needs, related needs, and the existent need. Then coming on to the process theories, expectancy theory, which is a theory motivation that says that people choose how to behave from among alternative causes of behavior based on their expectation of what there is to gain from each behavior. Assumptions are behavior is determined by a combination of factors in the individual and factors in the environment. Individuals make concise decisions about their behavior in the organization. Individuals have different needs, desires, and goals. Individuals decide between alternative behaviors on the basis of their expectation. That gives behavior will lead to a desired outcome. So, having gone through these theories, what do we recommend for the managers? Let us see. It determines the rewards valued by each employee. Determine the performance you desire. Make the performance level attainable. Never push people for unattainable desires. Link the reward to performance. Okay. We discussed the reward power. So performance could be rewarded. Analyze what factors might counteract the effectiveness of the rewards. Make sure the reward is adequate. So moving on to the decision making, I call it FASA, that is factors affecting selection of aim. What are the factors? When you are decision making, definitely you have to consider the factors, considerations and deduction. All the causes of action, all possible causes of action. After materializing all the causes of action, you have to select the best course of action. Then you go for the plan and for the implementation. So this decision-making process is very important. Whether you want to walk from A to B, there may be different path. Okay, which path to be taken is your factor consideration. If you go from this road, there might be traffic. If you go from this road, it might be long. Like there might be different kind of actions. These causes of actions, why I tell this, when you all are selecting a project, you will have to analyze the possible paths through all these factor consideration. Then only you should go for the best course of action and then plan and implementation. Then you will succeed with effective and efficient decision making. Okay. Okay. We have discussed about communication and importance of communication for the leaders and managers. This is a very basic, I will go to the very basic diagram after this. The level of communication according to type of activities performed for an engineering graduate defined in International Engineering Alliance, Washington Accord 9. Communicate effectively and inclusively on complex engineering activities with the engineering community and with society at large, such as being able to comprehend and write effective reports and design documentation and make effective presentation, taking into account cultural, language, and learning differences. It is verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication. Okay, whether it is a report or the documentation, it has to be a very effective manner. Your message should be communicated to the other party. This is very important as an engineer, as a manager. Effective communication is the process of sending a message which in such a way that the message received is as close in meaning as possible to the message intended. Effective communication is receive-oriented, not media-oriented. Okay? What you are encoding, it should be able to decode from other side. What you are trying to communicate should be able to understood by the other party to the nearest possible. Okay? This is a basic diagram of this communication process. Your ideas or feelings, the cognitive one will come. Then it will be encode, then converted into the message and send it with the encoder for the encryption for decoding. Once it is decoded, then ideas, feelings, and emotions will come back. Will it be 100% same as the sender's receiver's message? No, not at all. You can see the noise is always everywhere, which disturb this message. Therefore, you need to take the response and the feedback. or like electrical circuit, if you want to head towards one direction, always you need to get the feedback and see whether it is going to the right direction. Otherwise, you need to give a little bit of adjustment to go into the right direction. Therefore, every message is very important. It has to be communicated properly through a proper communication process for the receiver to understand the way that it has to be conveyed by the sender. The functions of communication in management, according to the Scott and Michelle, communication serves for four major functions with a group of organized: control, motivate, emotional expressions, and information. What is control? Organizations have authority, hierarchy, and formal guidelines that employees are required to follow. Motivation is the clarifying what we have discussed earlier to employees what is to be done, how well they are doing, what can be done to improve performance if it is subpar. So emotional expressions for many employees, their workplace is a primary source for social interaction. So you have to make your working environment very conducive and livable for them to live it happily, because every human being is, emotionally composed. The communication that takes place within the group is a fundamental mechanism by which members show their frustration and feelings or satisfaction. Whether they make happy, they indicate their feeling, or they just, express their frustration. They are, therefore, communication therefore provides the release for the emotional expressions of feelings and for fulfillment of social need. Some organizations, they arrange certain activities to this thing, maybe a drama, maybe a singing sessions, maybe a canteen environment. Likewise, different leaders, different managers, they use different skills. There are plenty of ways of doing this. It is up to you to practice and learn and practice and do the way that you think good. So information, it plays a big role in facilitating decision making, as I told you. Information has to be credible and valid. It provides the information that individuals and groups need to make decisions by transmitting the data to identify and evaluate alternative choices, as I told you. All the factors, FASA, which I told you, factors affecting selection of aims of your project or whatever, these informations are very required, okay? This information, once tested for its validity and credibility, when you process, it becomes intelligent data, credible data. So four regions of information known by, not known by the self and others. You must have seen this diagram earlier also. Let us see. Known by others. They know. Okay. Unknown by others. They don't know. Unknown by self. I don't know. Known by self. I know. When it comes to the unknown by self, I don't know. You all also don't know. What will happen? This is the arena of unknown. Totally blank. Others know, but I don't know. So we call it a blind spot. Everybody knows, I don't know. Then I know, others, they don't know. That is false front, because I think I know, I think others also know. It becomes a false front. Then your decisions are going wrong. Then arena to work is known by self, known by others. Whatever you know, you should know. Others also should know, nearest to the level that you know, the information. Then only it becomes a working arena in communication. Okay. So you can see more feedback is required towards unknown area. more feedback is required towards false front and unknown, from less to more. That is to expose area. As I told you, communication is verbal, non-verbal, oral, written. Okay. Whatever the format, you should be able to communicate very precisely, not garbling your message. What are the barriers to effective communication? Different frames of references. Individuals can interpret the same communication differently based on their experience. You interpret it the way that you experience. The result is in variation in the encoding and decoding process. When the encoding or decoding process are alike, communication is most effective. When they are different, so it is disturbed or break. Communication overload can happen. Emotional reactions, anger, love, defensiveness, hate, jealousy, fear, embarrassment, it influence your communication and understanding the other's message and how one influence others will own messages. Two separate tasks to improve in communication, improve message, the information they wish to transmit. So either to improve the message, improve one's understanding of what other people are trying to communicate to them, one must become better encoder or decoders. Must strive not only to be understood, but also you must try it is to be understood by the others. Techniques for improving communication. I'm little bit emphasizing on this communication part to you all because this is very much important, because this is what it carries from you as a leader, as a manager to others, maybe on your own environment, maybe to external environment. So therefore, whoever masters in this communication are becoming good leaders and good managers. What are the techniques? Following up, attempting to deliver whether your intended to meaning was actually received. Just check it, whether it has properly gone. There are many ways of checking. Formal way, informal way, casual way, whatever. Then regulating information flow. The idea is based on the exception principles of management, which said that only significant deviation from policies and procedures should be brought to the attention of managers to manager. This technique ensures an optimal flow of information to managers, thereby eliminating the barriers of communication overload. Utilizing feedback provides a channel for receiver response, enabling the communicator to determine whether the message has been received and has produced the intended response. Empathy. Improve the ability to put yourself in the other person's role. Just see, we are talking like you should get into the other person's shoes and see it. So basically you have to see it not only from your perspective. If you are given a task to others, you have to see whether it is possible to do with this time frame, with these available resources, with these weather conditions. This is how it is. Then simplify in language. Just do not garble. We call it KISS. KISS. Keep it simple and specific. So your message should be communicated in a very specific and simple and very short way. So you should be a good listener. Good method. Encourage someone to express true feeling, desires, and emotions to learn. Sometimes certain decisions, I have told you a lot of powers, reward power, expert power, etc. Sometimes just stop talking. Whoever comes, ask him to relax. Just tell your problem. Why it could not be done? Why the delay? Just listen to him. That itself is a good approach in communication. Okay. If you don't listen, you will not get any information or real factors there. Okay, moving on to another very important and interesting subject, perceptual distortion. This I included to your theoretical part here because most of this is happening practically to you, but you should know how it is happening and why it is happening. Perceptual distortion happens when the stated view differs from an ordinary reaction. Okay, this is a component of individual contrast, for instance, in perceptual styles and in theoretical, not the same as mental trips or optical dreams. As recognition relies upon the perceiver's present perspective, past and conception. There could simply be mistakes in the explanation. Recognition relies upon the perceiver's present perspective. Like you are looking from different glasses, different color glasses. So different leaders see from different glasses. So because of this, there will be perceptual distortion. So therefore, it is required to know what it is exactly. What is stereotype? It is about putting away general data about social gatherings, nationalities, political association, physical or mental capacity. An essential part of this is that they regularly contain data about stable identity attribute. Stereotyping enables us to anticipate conduct since they encode relationship between social classification, circumstances, and practices. What are the examples? It is often said that men are the earning people in the family and women are not only meant for household, they are meant for household. So always, is it applicable to every country, everywhere, every region? No, it's not that. That's general. What is halo effect? It is the way whereby we accept that since individuals are great at completing task A, you are giving the task B also to same. No, it's a different task. Only this group is doing good for this task. You don't assume other group also will do the same task in the same manner. The expression was first created by Edward Thorndike, a psychologist who utilized it is an examination distribution in 1920 to portray the way that bosses praised their officers. This effect can be seen in real world, where halo effect impact how instructors treat students as well as affect how students see instructors. Okay. Selective perception, procedures by which one just sees what he or she feels is correct, totally disregarding the contradictory perspective. The way that you see, think correct, you are not being able to see in different perspective. See things just the way we see, okay? Not the real picture. This often happens in real life, where when someone comes and tells you good about a person, a third person, and mention only one flaw, we tend to ignore all the positive aspects and concentrate only on the negative aspect which was informed to us, and we start forming an opinion about the third person. Is it happening in your organization? Can. It can happen to you from the top level or down level. Basically, people coming and telling, so you are registering that person's behavior or attitude or knowledge by listening to only one person's aspect. That is selective perception. This is another kind of perceptual distortion which we ourselves need to get away from this. Projection, that a type of mechanism in which undesirable emotions are uprooted onto someone else. A typically type of projection happens when an individual undermined by his own furious emotion, blame another for harboring unfriendly contemplations. For an example, a husband who has a hostile nature might attribute this hostile to his wife and say she has an anger management problem. Actually, he is having, but he's projecting his things to his wife. Like in your environment also, it can happen. You as a leader sometimes getting emotionally uh, hostile and telling your emotions to others or hostility to others. We have to identify exactly who we are. Again, going to the first slide, who we are, who am I, and we have to get rid of that and avoid. If it is yours, you have to avoid as much as possible, not to project your anger or your emotions to others. So these are the perceptual distortions that you should know to behave yourself, to act yourself, to manage yourself. So now again, from the beginning to again, now you should ask same question from you. Who am I? So I am an engineer and a manager. So to seal it, I'm an engineer and a manager, you should practice all the managerial aspects what we have discussed practically, not just to write the paper and getting through. That's a requirement, of course, you need to get through, but these aspects you need to inculcate into your own mind and body and practically to implement. It's not easy to do everything together. Okay, slowly by slowly, you will start doing one by one, practicing. Most of the things are generally available things from your working area to big organization to country to international level. But how do you perceive things? How do you use your skills in management? How do you take your leadership attribute, inculcate your managerial aspect, and practice your engineering aspect as an engineer and a manager is very important, whether it can be a small project, a big project, or managing a set of projects. Therefore, I think I have done my part here. Please go through the slides and try to understand practically what we have discussed. That will give you a little bit of injection to your body to start practicing these things. So slowly, one by one, you do all these things. Automatically, try to do a small project with these aspects. So you become success. So by doing that, you will start doing some more. So it becomes a bread and butter for you. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you have got something into your knowledge, and all the very best for your examination and future endeavors. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can I have that presentation?
Yeah, this will be shared to ISL and they will publish in the web. I will ask them to put it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.